Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me. As you can see, I'm sitting next to the man. Sunny Lu from VeChain. I'm super excited to chat with you, man. There's a lot of things that you guys are doing, not only in crypto, clearly, but you're integrating into the real world with some of your amazing partnerships. I feel like this is the year for the partnerships of VeChain. I feel like you said that earlier this year too.
Well, it's different stages, I would say. You know, we start from enterprise adoption, even since the day one, with, you know, Walmart, the food safety platform for Walmart, the bunch of the luxury brands, H&M, Receipt project for ocean cleanup. So we start from there. But this year we're gonna do a little bit different. Okay. You know, following the VetDow ecosystem launch last year, and we're kind of building up the new platform to merge enterprise application and retail application together. Because I feel like this is the right track or right direction, especially for Web3. Because, okay, what is the most important thing for Web3? It's about a user.
You would think, yeah.
Yeah, and also the mass adoption really hinge on one thing, is utility for user. Okay. Right? You gotta bring the application or technology, what is it used for? Like what user can benefit, can really use some tool, right? I think this year is the right moment with all of the clarity of the regulation side.
That to me is crazy to see, because I got into the space in 2017, and I like to say this to people, like if you watch like the flow of crypto or blockchain over the last several years, right? Like back when I got in, it was still the movement, like the ethos of the cypherpunks, that it was, hey, peer-to-peer and all that stuff. But as you see the timeline change, like it became an industry. And look at this conference that we've got now with these booths. People are spending 60, 70,000, maybe $100,000 on a booth, right? So we've changed from a movement into an industry, but I think now changing into the global financial ecosystem, like when you're talking about the mass adoption, making sure that we've got products and utilities for the retail people, I mean, that's coming, right? The FDIC here in the United States, well, I guess we're in Canada right now, but in the United States, you know, they've said to banks like, hey, you're okay to start using crypto. Like, that's cool. Yeah. You know, so we talked about the utilization and adoption of crypto and blockchain. It's happening right before our eyes.
Well, honestly, internet has done that before. Internet, you know, when you think about the internet, before 2000, it's basically just about first the infrastructure. So it's exactly like blockchain, right? We talk about exchanges, we talk about the layer ones, different tools, explorers, wallets, they are all infrastructures. Right. And also in the early stage of the internet, basically when we think about the application, either it's like a very common, even without any business model, like email, like a browser, right? Those are I don't even want to call them like application, but more like another tools, but just getting closer to the user, right? So I think right now the Web3 is going through the similar stage, but moving to the next level. So if you think about what is really drawing attention or let's say getting a booming development in internet, when we think about Amazon, Facebook, Alibaba, Tencent, Google, those type of applications, until today's TikTok, Instagram, even the Tesla, considered as internet companies, right? It's getting like a progressive steps to eventually to give you the real utility, give the user the real utility, and then you know, getting deeper and deeper collaborating with your real life. And then you feel like, oh, I cannot live without internet. Right. So the Web3 is the same.
So at some point,
we'll get different.
Some point people will get to where like, I can't live without this blockchain, whatever that application ends up being.
Even they may not understand, or they may not aware, like, oh, I'm using blockchain applications, right? So it's the same thing, like you use the internet every day, but you don't need to understand what a TCP/IP is or SMTP is.
Exactly.
Same thing. Same thing for blockchain.
You know, I think it's funny, we get a little excited when we have these conversations with people about blockchain, right? And then most people don't care about the gigahash or all that kind of stuff, right? But that's, you know, the underlying fundamentals that makes the tech work and all that stuff. And it's like the internet, it's the same thing. At this stage in the game, you don't know, nor do you care how the internet works, you just want it to work. And as long as it works, you're good.
And then you just try the products, right? And the different product will have that kind of competitive evolving all the time.
So what offering from crypto do you think will be the first to make it to that stage where it's integrated without really thinking about it?
Well, I would bet on the sustainability. You know why?
Why?
Firstly, this is the biggest consensus in the world.
Right.
If you talk to anybody in the world, nobody will say, no, I don't care about sustainability. Right? So it's even somebody maybe just pretend to like, oh, I'm into that. At least they will, open up and try to listen to you and try your products. So that's I would call it the low-hanging fruits.
Yeah.
Because there is already a consensus built among everyone
In the world.
In the world.
It does, because if you think about like RWAs or gaming or whatever, like those are very specific in specific locations to where it makes sense. In an undeveloped country, they don't care about RWAs, but they may care about.
Exactly. And also the second part is, I think the Web3 is perfect for sustainability. Yes. Why? Because there is no difference among the whole world. I give you an example. You save 1 ton CO2 in US, and you're gonna do the same trick or same impact if another user save 1 ton CO2 in any small country of Southeast Asia.
Right.
Right. It's the same thing, same impact. It's we call tangible value coming from users' behavior. Okay. It doesn't matter you're a rich dude from Wall Street or you're just a poor student from Africa. It doesn't matter. Right. It's the same thing.
Right.
So the Web3 kind of flat this type of the people's action, and then gives monetized value out of everyone's action. So from the second point, I mean that's kind of like underline the message. I'm an engineer.
Okay.
So when I build that application, I'm always think about, okay, what is the logic, right?
Okay.
And on top of everything, when we think about the power of the Web3, what is the power of the Web3? I had a different answer before. Decentralization, immutability, transparency, trustless, all of the different answers are true, actually. But if you put them together, I would summarize a marginal effect out of the, human actions. Mm-hmm. What is a marginal cost? Which is quite common in the internet. Marginal cost means an expense to serve one more user.
Yeah.
Right. And the Web3 gonna drive that towards zero, almost zero. And internet has done that. Just imagine the marginal effect is outsized impact of the small actions.
Okay.
Give an example. Now you can send a very single post, very easy, right? You can just take a few minutes. You can send a very single post, but you can instantly reach millions over the internet.
You're talking about like on social media or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's like a small action, but with a great impact, taking the network effect.
Gotcha.
That's what we call marginal effect, right? So for the Web3, I would say it's exactly the same. Just like what internet unlock a new business revolutions through the marginal effect on the internet.
Okay.
So think about Google, Amazon, you name it.
All the disruptions that came out.
It's the same thing, right? Once you are able to reach or serve or connect to millions, like without any barriers of the geographically location challenge or time challenge, then you have this type of the effect. So the Web3 is the same.
Right. Okay.
So that means through that kind of effect, you're able to discover. Actually, I believe that's a true, or we call it the most promising subcategory under the RWA. Mm-hmm. Well, what is when we think about RWA, it's about the real world assets, mm-hmm. right? What are real assets we should tokenize? Let's think about that.
So I fundamentally like the idea of, if we want to cut out middlemen, like real estate, and to bring cars, houses and stuff on the blockchain.
Yes, I agree with you. That's a first step, right? But I would call it's incremental improvement.
Okay.
Think about, I have a real estate, I have commodity, I have big land, I have petroleum reserve, whatever. Then you can tokenize. But basically, there are already existing ways to do that, but just in a different format.
Interesting.
Right? You still need to have, even you do the tokenization, I've been talking to different type of authorities in Wall Street, in Hong Kong, even in Europe. you still need to go through all of the regulatory challenge, KYC, AML. Basically, you're talking to exactly same group of investors.
Right.
You're not able to open up to, let's say, to have an inclusive adoption, to reach people with $50 or $100, nobody cares, right?
True.
At least in the current world. But what I'm saying, the marginal effect is there is some value was not able to discover or too small to be discovered.
That's interesting.
Right. You are part of the user of the of the VetDow as a whole, right?
Correct.
So when we talk about the EVearn, when we talk about the electricity vehicle, what is the value of using the electricity vehicle? Yeah, I can use the recycle energy. I'm not gonna creating the pollution for the whole world.
Carbon emissions, all that
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
people get that. But how do you quantify that? Right. I give you an example. You can drive an EV for 10,000 miles a year. Basically, result in a CO2 saving is about 1 ton or 1.5 tons,
Okay.
roughly. And what is the value of that? If we use the current carbon credits market, it's about $50 to $75 or $100 maximum.
So what's the point? What's the incentive for that?
And it's for a whole year, right?
That doesn't seem worth it.
And then whatever the user or the service provider is like, okay, it's too small. I mean, I don't really care. Or how do I get that kind of value monetized or even verified?
Right.
You might end up, going through some business auditors like SGS or DNV, that kind of company. You have to pay $50,000 to $100,000 to certify your $50 or $100 CO2. No one would stupid that.
It's too
right?
much. It's too much effort.
Exactly.
For nothing.
However, if we change the thought, think about, we still get those business auditors to certify a process and certify a smart contract, which is immutable and they're gonna carry on exactly like for all of the cars.
Yeah, how it's
and if it will reach to 1 million cars, then we talk about a $50 million or $100 million a year.
Now we're cooking with peanut oil.
Exactly. That's what we call marginal effect or almost zero marginal cost. Then you are able to build the new type of business model or business revolution. So that's why I'm saying, in summary, sustainability could be the low-hanging fruits for the next Web3 revolution.
Well, and I love that you say that. And we talk about RWAs, and I know that you're familiar with the BSG study. For RWAs, 16 to 30 trillion by 2030. Whatever. I think that's very conservative. I think it's probably closer to 50, but whatever.
I agree.
Because you have to think, if you look at global derivatives, like it's in the quadrillions. So if we could just scoop a little bit, we'd be fine.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But what people don't pay attention to is BSG also put out a survey about sustainability, and I think the numbers are even greater than what they said for the RWAs.
Exactly, and actually the recent BCG survey, very interesting. I'm going to share in the keynote this afternoon, actually.
Okay, cool.
If you think about areas, investors are quite excited. Well, firstly, this survey to the investor majorly in US, and also combining both retails and institutions, right? And when we talk about the areas of excitement for those investors, number one for sure, Bitcoin.
Right.
No surprise.
No
right?
surprise. That's all people care about right
But
now.
the number two represents 39% of people are interested is sustainability. And number three is AI. And then stablecoin. And then RWA. Well, they're sitting at all 30 to 40, that kind of range. But those are excitement, investors are really interested about that. And also if you think about, the priority when you selected the let's say the investment portfolio, 77% of investors are interested about price trends or based on the price trends to select the portfolio, which is not surprise. Everybody here, when you think about the investment, you care about the returns, right?
You're supposed to.
Yeah, that's your job. So not surprise. But the second place, very close to 77%, is 74% of investors care about real world use cases.
I don't want to say that we've moved past the whole idea of let's speculate and number go up and let's just get rich, but we at some point we have to.
Yeah, we have to. I feel like right now the market is maturing. It's really maturing.
Right before our eyes, it's happening.
Yeah, and also following up all of the regulatory actions, not only in US but also Europe with Mika and everything.
And same thing with Hong Kong. It was at one of the conferences at Futurist earlier this week. There was, I think, the Hong Kong development where they're talking about their blockchain and stuff.
And
I mean,
Singapore, Middle East.
Yeah, UAE is going big too. It's the domino effect. And when you think about the nation states competing for, I know, like you said, Bitcoin is what they all want right now, but that's just what they know. And I think, I went to an Ondo summit earlier this year in New York in February, and that was really, you look at like this TradFi is trying to become DeFi situation. And it's really funny how they refer to us as the flip-flops, the suits and all that stuff, but we can help them solve these problems. We can help
100%.
bring, because they've got issues in their, in their world that we can help them solve because we're blockchain natives.
Yeah, and also we think differently.
Yes.
And honestly, I believe whatever the new technology, you will carry on by the, I even you want to use the word is, even let's say by barbarians.
Okay.
Not existing player in some industries. Because let's say when you are a startup, when you are really innovators, you don't have all of the baggage. Like what is the rules in the current world? I don't care about that.
You're just trying to get the product to market.
Yeah, and I just try to how are we gonna use the new technology for the most efficient solution addressing the exact problem? And we don't have a baggage.
Yeah.
So the crypto native, the blockchain native people will be the pioneer, will be the main task force to really break the world.
Wow.
And then eventually creating the new world.
I love that, man. I love that. All right, so real quick, back to sustainability. What's your favorite offering in the VetDow ecosystem? Like, what do you use the most? I know you do the EV, and I know you do Mugshot.
Yeah, I do. I do. Well, actually, Mugshot is number one because it's easy to use.
Right.
Now it's already reaching over 900,000 users.
That's
almost
amazing.
like 1 million. I know Web 2 maybe like 1 million users. Oh, okay. But Web 3 is pretty impressive. Right?
Yeah.
And I think about even Facebook, they spent a whole year to reach the first 1 million user. So
and they probably spent a lot of money to get there too.
Yeah. So that's a number one. And I like EV as well. I'm a Tesla driver.
Right.
So I use EVearn. And the best part about EVearn is not only about integration with Tesla system. So basically the authorized API allows the data transmission to smart contract, rewards people so much easy.
Oh, really?
And yeah, basically you can log in the EVearn with your Tesla account.
Oh, okay.
Then there is no farming situation, and the user journey is pretty smooth. Actually, the best part is the weekly retention rate, user retention rate, is 98%.
Oh, wow.
So that means if you start to use EVearn, then you love that.
It makes sense. Again, it's like it goes back to the whole idea of everything that you have in the ecosystem and the offering. It's like the coffee. You're drinking coffee every day.
Yeah.
And it's like people say, well, it's pennies. Like,
Yeah.
okay, but
Yeah.
what does it cost? If I look at, and I did this whole cost comparison where it's like my bag of coffee cost me $16 at Costco. I probably get 52 pots of coffee out of it. And if I do the Mugshot thing, like depending on the price
It's
of the
good,
token,
right?
it's better than nothing. That's the point.
Let's say well, actually, I wanted to introduce you the last project actually recently launched in the VetDow. It's called Nubila.ai.
Okay.
It's a portable device. Actually, I got in front of my, inside of my bag. It's a portable device just like this size, and collect the crime data in a decentralized way.
Oh, that's interesting.
And even though, let's say, so you can set up the device everywhere you want. You can put on your terrace, or even you can take it when you are traveling, right? And you collect the areas, for example, the temperature, the wind, the humid, just around your site.
Some deep in stuff.
Yeah, it's a deep in stuff.
Yeah.
And also the best part is they already built the business collaboration with some established companies. So they collaborate with Winbits to support the aviation management.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the data coming from those portable devices will give more accurate climate situation assessment for the aviation, right? And also they work with smart home management, so they're helping thousands of households to save the water consumption.
Oh, wow.
Because of the more accurate climate, data coming from the portable device.
So you're not relying on what the water company or what the
No.
utility company says.
Yeah,
you can verify what's
So
actually.
think about that. Basically, right now, if you check about the weather, it's coming from weather station.
Right.
Right. Basically, how many weather stations in one city? It's not accurate
to your location.
Yeah, to your location.
Gotcha.
I was in Half Moon Bay in the Dripper Summit, And when I look at the weather, I say, oh, 15 degrees. I say, okay, I might pack my jacket, right? But actually, when I arrived there by the coastline, it's like 27 with the sunlight and everything.
Don't need the coat.
Yeah, I don't need the coat. So those just a small thing.
Yeah.
But think about, there are multiple use cases, like when you play a golf, you might need to have accurate wind and all of that stuff.
That's really interesting.
Right? So what I'm saying is like, this is a perfect example. You can use individual data coming from different type of person in a decentralized way, but at your convenience.
Right.
Right, you're not putting like a huge amount of effort on that. Basically, you just carry a small device with you.
And you use it when you want.
Exactly.
Some kind of, yeah.
And the best part is you can earn the rewards. So you're saving money for the water, you earn the rewards, and you're doing good for sustainability impacts. How cool is that?
It's a win-win-win right there.
Exactly.
I love it, man. I think the VDAO and everything that's happening in there is so important. And I wish there was more projects that would kind of take, follow the lead on what you guys are doing.
That's our goal. That's our goal. So far, it's about 1.3, 1.4 million users and 30 applications. Okay. And we're still gonna push forward to get more people. The new grant process will be launched, and we're trying to, let's say, encourage more quality X2N applications to join the VetDow and, build up the system together.
Hell yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk. Recently, I know a bunch of my buddies were in Kansas City for the big reveal of the TKO Sports thing, where you got PBR, you got Power Slap, and what else? What other partnership offerings that you guys are adding with that?
WWE.
I can forget about the WWE.
Yeah, and we were in the middle of WrestleMania. It's like a Super Bowl for WWE.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's the thought process about like integrating with the TKO Sports and how that really develops the VeChain brand to just normal people? Because I think that's the most important thing is, obviously we talk about RWAs and integration with regulation and how mass adoption is going to happen. And that's all great. But at the end of the day, fun things like the VetDow integrating, just getting normal people to do stuff, the partnerships you're doing with all that you're doing. It's just pulling in normal people. And I think that's some of the most important stuff that we could be doing in crypto.
Mass adoption, right?
That's it.
Well, that's a job of Dana White, the man.
Because he's not just like, typically in crypto you have people that come on and you're like, oh, he's with us and you just use them as a face. No, he's actually a board member. He's strategic.
He's a strategic official advisor of VeChain.
Right.
And also he's not like just hang out his picture on the website and be the title. And
he got his hands dirty down in Florida picking up.
Exactly. Well, that's why I really respect, and he's really, Dana is really like a big brother to me.
That's cool.
When we start meet each other, collaborating each other like 3 years ago, with the UFC and stuff, and then he start to get to know more what we're really doing, especially after VetDow launch.
That's
I tried it many times to him, like, okay, what about the VeChain, the crypto, the token, the technology, and he's like, Sunny, I don't know any shit about this crypto.
Right? At least he's honest, because you get a lot of celebrities that come in and they tarnish their name because...
That's why I like him. He be authentic. He's very, how do I say, he's a fighter, right? Right. And then after the VetDow launch, I just showed him a bunch of the different type of applications, even including the pickup, the dog poop. He's like, oh, I understand that. People shouldn't leave the dog poop in the street. I say, right. And people should get incentivized or motivated to do that and eventually become your behavior, right? So for example, now you're using this mug to drink coffee, you get 0.1 better token, it's like a few cents. And it's not really about the money incentivized. It's really about the behavior.
Changing your behavior.
And also you feel good because I didn't use the paper cups or plastic cups, right? So he understands that.
That's cool.
And he say like, well, that's I understand. In his word, that shit I understand, right? And he like, okay, how can I help you? And I say, well, let's try to brainstorm. And I told him like, I'm an engineer, I'm more on the technical side, but you are a freaking marketing genius. So you can join us as an advisor and do the work, and let's show people. Well, the best part of Dana is not only about he's a billionaire, he's an entrepreneur, and he's a successful entrepreneur, 100%, right? Actually, he also got 100 millions of fans worldwide.
Right.
So every words he said, you're gonna
People listen.
People listen. People follow.
Right.
People do the actions, right? As a role model from Dana White. And he also get his hands dirty, like you said. You know, in Miami, he showed up on schedule in the morning, I think around 10 a.m., like when we planned for that. He actually landed in Miami 3 a.m. at the night, but he showed up 10 a.m.
That's respect.
And everybody was thinking like, oh, maybe Dana just came here to make a pose, you know, do a photo
op just to say I'm
and
here.
just leave. No, he spent 4 hours with us. 4 hours until like 2 p.m.
That's great.
And he picked up the trash. Literally, he picked up 20 pounds of trash.
Wow.
With with all of the crews, and also he did the interviews. He calling actions to his 100 millions of fans, like, guys, don't do that. You know, pick up the trash.
Yeah.
Make the island clean. Those type of things. I think it's he's not just like saying, I'm an advisor, I'm advising you. No, he's literally helping, literally get hands dirty, to do the things with us, showing a good example. I think that's how he's really attractive to his fans, because he's more like, he's authentic. He's more like, I'm your big brother, just neighborhood. I do things you do, and we're kind of same dude.
People resonate with that, right? Like, they obviously understand and love him for his role that he played at the UFC and bringing that.
Yeah.
And it's, it's just that personality, like you said. You resonate with him. You're just like, he's just a dude.
Yeah, and also on top of that, for sure, he has his magic power, right? He knows lots of people with big connections, and he's, setting up the business collaboration for us with the fortune.com, is just the first one. And actually, we're working a bunch of new institutions, even from the Wall Street. Really appreciate his support. And last but not least, just a couple of days later, after the Miami event, we met the President Trump. I know he's not the favorable person right now in Canada, but
that's okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. We want to talk about that.
Yeah, and we shared the story about the beach activity, clean up the plastic and everything. He's like, oh, that's good. I like it. It's more than just technology, fancy terms. It's really about real things.
Action.
And normal people can do.
Anyone can do it. And I think that's the most important thing. And you talk about resonating and all that stuff, and it's important things.
Yeah.
Everybody in the world can understand that, like, you could do something, one thing, and this is one thing I talk about all the time, 1% better. And it's usually in relation to yourself or your career, or whatever it is, but I think you can make yourself a little bit better to this environment as well.
Yeah.
Everybody could do it.
Yeah, so that's Dana. I like
cool.
him. I really respect him. Starting from a couple of years ago, we started to call each other like brother here, brother there. I really like him, and I appreciate all of the support from him. And he's not, trust me, he's just getting started.
I can imagine, man. I know it's exciting. I have been VFAM for quite some time, and so it's cool to see a lot of these things happening and the ecosystem change and grow and all that stuff.
Yeah, and join VFAM, and next time you go to, let's say, some event like a Power Slab, I might help to set up the photo with Dana together.
There you go.
Yeah.
Fun.
And also this year, in terms of the upgrades, we're also working on the VeChain Renaissance.
Yes.
And it's, for my goal is eventually is for mass adoption.
Okay.
Right? And we talk about the VetDow as a use case, as a utility to the user, the applications, the fun stuff. But also, we need to build up the infrastructure to be able to scale up or to support the scale up like VetDow, right? So that's the whole idea about the VeChain Renaissance. And this year we're gonna have 2 phases, and next year we'll have a 3rd phase. And the ultimate purpose of the VeChain Renaissance is to enable decentralization. Well, you have been a crypto guy for years, right? So decentralization is a promise of the blockchain.
It's a promise, it's a hope, and a wish. We're never.
You're right.
We're never
I'm
going to see
getting
it.
there.
I don't think we're going to see it. Okay.
Well, you will see it through VeChain Renaissance. Okay, I will explain to you. Very simple to understand. But the decentralization is very difficult, right? Mining pool in the POW can be centralized. Staking can be centralized, right? You know what is the biggest barrier? The biggest barrier is technical barriers to run a validator. So you gotta have. I mean, not everyone is engineer, not everyone is developer.
You have to know.
You gotta know how to do it, and also you kind of scared because of all of the security stuff, and right. So that means normal people are not able to participate in the decentralization directly. You have to through something, right? So what we do, our solution, is using a novel design. No one ever done that before. Is using the NFT to participate in the protocol level.
Right.
So user will able to stake that not into any service provider, but into a smart contract, and no one has access control about it. So it's pretty safe. And then when you stake the VAT, you mint the NFT out, and you use the NFT to choose whatever the validator you like, and you bind with the validator. And then your staking, represented by the NFT, will be merged into the protocol calculation level.
Whoa.
So that means even you don't know anything to run a validator or you are not a developer, totally fine.
But you know how to mint an NFT, so you're good.
Know how to play an NFT. You can play.
You run a validator.
Yeah, and you are run kind of, well, we call it a delegator. But you are connecting with the validator, right? So that could really enable a real decentralization because normal people can play. That's what we call inclusive decentralization.
Well, that's
right?
pretty good.
And also, let's say it's not only about like, oh, that's good, that's cool, that's first promising, first principle of blockchain as a decentralization. Not only about that, also we built the new tokenomics to give enough attractive APY or rewards to the user, to the NFT holders.
Okay.
It could be up to more than 10%.
APY. Which is way more they're getting anywhere else in a traditional sense.
Exactly. And also the best part is, you getting the rewards not from any middleman. You're getting rewards from the protocol level because the rewards were based on your NFT activity.
Okay.
And it send you the rewards automatically.
Straight from the contract or whatever, right?
Yeah. Sure. If some user are still lazy, not having enough time to manage or whatever, like every 7 days or 15 days, you still can choose a staking service provider, right? But you have options, right? You have different options to play a real decentralization. So I think that's gonna be, well, my team even, getting super excited saying like, oh, Sunny, we're gonna patentize that. I said, no. In blockchain, we're open sourced. Right. We hope this kind of design, we run it first, and we let everybody could follow that and bring the real decentralization to make the blockchain more accessible.
That success breeds the competition, which ultimately then the rising tide floats all the boats.
Yeah, I'm a super fan of Elon Musk, to be honest. The best way is not to try to patronize everything,
right,
but to keep yourself or motivate yourself, keep evolving, right? Build up new stuff, iterating your products. I think that's going to be the main theme of the blockchain starting from this year. Product is everything.
I think we hit it right on the head, man. It's a big year for blockchain. It's a big year for crypto. It's a big year for VeChain. Sunny, thank you so much. Thank you for your time, man. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I look forward to interviewing you again down the road after a few more months 100%, down. And I know there's some hot stuff coming later this year.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, man. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you smash the like button on your way out of here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time. Let's go.